Good Thursday night, everybody.
It is terrible at this every single time, Steve.
I do it. You know what? I do it. I'm not. But see, now you know what? I do it on purpose just because I want to make you all upset.
Anyways,
because I know it bothers you. So now that I know it bothers you, I do it all the time. I pause purposely until you throw a fit. If you wouldn't throw a fit, I'd stay quiet for like an hour waiting for you to throw that fit.
Not a chance in HE double hockey sticks.
Now,
would you remain quiet over anything?
Well, it's another Thursday night barbecue chat. It is Thursday night. I am Steve Kress. I am with It's All About the Barbecue. And during the week, you can find me at Wanamaker's in lovely, beautiful downtown Downers Grove, Illinois, the epicenter of grilling and smoking in the western suburbs of Chicago. And the man sitting next to me, as always, the chairman of the board of Barbecue Blackstone and Beer, member of the Griddle crew, loves Blackstone just a little too much, Mr. Ryan Hoagland. I still love that my car says Hoagland. Every time I say to call you, I said, I'll tell the car, well, now I got some weird teenage person that's saying, I used to have this Irish gal that would say it. And I'd say, call Ryan Hoagland. And she'd say, calling Ryan Hoagland. And I'm like, it just cracks me up because I know you don't like that.
Got to get that fixed. Anyways, it is Thursday night barbecue chat. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for coming and spending your Thursday evening with us. We do greatly appreciate it. And on top of that,
let's pay some bills.
I got to pay some bills. And thank our amazing sponsors. Want to give a shout out to the OG Bandits down in Kansas City, Missouri. And our next newest sponsor, Marble Ridge Farms.
Marble Ridge Farms has good meat. I tell you that. I had that class with Smitty and Fergie, and Smitty got that thing shipped in from Marble Ridge Farms, and that brisket was gorgeous. And as we all know, check out your local supplier of barbecue supplies. See if you can find OG Bandits there. I know it is at Wanamaker's. Of course it would be, because Wanamaker's has the best selection of sauces and rubs in the Chicagoland area, right down there. So make sure you check that out. If you cannot find it at your local place, you can probably go to Barbecue Pro Shop or Barbecue Superstore or something like that. They'll have it. So
is it barbecuesuperstore.com?
Yeah. I think they're still in business. Are they still in business?
Anyways, we had a great show last week, but this week even better.
We're going.
And before we get to that too, I just do want to say that we are now streaming our podcast on Spotify. So if you missed the show and you want to come back and you want to check out another episode, go to Spotify and look us up, Thursday Night Barbecue Chat.
I'm so excited. The little things that get me so excited. So anyway, our guest today is, I reached out and finally got a hold of her. I hate to tell you that the people on Instagram are really hard to get a hold of because they got so many darn followers, Ryan. It's not like us where we have 3 or 4 followers. But
well, I mean, if I would have reached out, it probably would have gotten a response better. But when they're like, Steve, who the heck is that? Like,
and how lucky could it be when she finally responded? Guess where she was going, Ryan? She said, I'll have to contact you because I'm going to, there it is, the shed. And I said, oh, what a coincidence. So am I. So we actually did meet at the shed. And we got to talk and everything. So let's bring in, she's been doing this for a long time, according to my good friend Jim Taylor from Smoky Woods. Let's bring in Grill Girl Robyn.
Well, hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome from Florida.
Oh,
bringing the heat.
I was waiting for that. I was just about to say, I mean, what was it? I think it was a high of 25 today here.
No, I don't know. It was 9 when I was driving into work, so.
I feel bad for you guys. We were a balmy 75 today.
That's perfect.
It's pretty nice. Not going to lie. That's why we deal with hurricanes, because our winters are pretty awesome.
Yeah, you got to get some kind of punishment for all the nice weather you get.
And we do get a nice ass whooping every year with those hurricanes. So there is that.
I don't know if that's enough to offset it for me, though. I mean, I'll deal with the cold.
That's a pretty blatant way to. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, you got 2 ass whoopings this year with the 2 that came through. So
yeah. And when you have like a gazillion grills on your back porch, you have to move them all. It's such a pain, even if it's like, and you hope it's a nothing burger, right? But either way, the prep is still the same.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I get it.
I digress. Hi, great to meet you guys or re-meet you.
Yeah, well, it's nice to meet you. I haven't met you. I mean, I didn't make it to the shed. I know everybody throws it in my face. One year, I will get down there.
Next year, you should come.
Next year, maybe. Bring your wife. Bring Steph. Bring her down. I am telling you, if you want, I can give you the purpose. She doesn't watch the show, so I can honestly tell her. I can say it right on the show. Tell her that you want to go somewhere warm. You want to go to Ocean Springs and just get some warm weather. Because I'm telling you, as I said on the show last week, Ocean Springs is a pretty cool town. I mean, Trisha and I drove around after, and it was actually a pretty neat little vacation town.
It's super
and then the
cute.
shed could just happen to be there.
Yep. Though it's not warm every year. There have been some years where it's like in the 20s and you're outside freezing your ass off all weekend.
Well, they said a couple days after they had snow.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Yeah. No.
But you don't have to mention that part. Hey, Greg.
Oh, look at Michelle O'Gwynn.
Michelle O'Gwynn says it's
a great thing. Michelle. See, you know why she's on, Ryan? She just wants to rub it in because she was on Heath Ryle's show the other day. So she just wants to point out that she was on the big time. She made it to the big time while you and I are still down here in the bottom. That's why she's here. She's here to rub it in.
I mean, we just love to do this podcast and, just let everybody know that you can only go up from here.
Just have fun with it. Just have fun with it. You can't compare yourself to others, especially in social media. It'll drive you crazy. Just have fun. That's my motto.
Yes.
And then we are
our fave Grill Girl.
Barrel proof smoke your bourbon. Who's that? I'd smoke bourbon, Ryan. That's right up your alley.
That's perfect. I love smoked bourbon.
So, it's the best.
I love
Barrel proof is the best.
So anyway, so I've seen you on Instagram, and then of course I was talking to my good friend Jim Taylor from Smoky Woods, and we were talking about getting the queen of herself, Tootsie, on the show, and we were working on that and trying to figure logistics for that. And he's like, and his good old Southern drawl that Ryan liked. Oh, you should ask Grill Girl Robyn. She'd be a good one. That was a really bad Jim impersonation, but he's got like one of the best Southern drawls I'll ever see. And I said, I've tried reaching out and I tried communicating on Instagram. It didn't work. So I finally did email and it finally worked. So.
Well, it's great to meet you. And I love Jim Taylor. And I'm sorry if I wasn't responsive. Sometimes I don't even see, I'm terrible about my inbox management on Instagram. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, Robyn@grillgirl.com is the way to do it more quickly because it is a hot mess on my Instagram, but yeah. And I love Jim Taylor, Smoky Woods Barbecue. They're the best. That's a nice family run company, but yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I've been doing this quite some time.
Well, that's what he said. And that was probably going to be my first question to ask you was how long have you exactly been, how long is a long time?
It's a long time. And I'm still only 29 for the record. So there is that. But I mean, gosh, I really kind of fell into grilling accidentally by almost singeing my eyebrows off. And I believe that was like 2010-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I have a journalism degree and I've always done some writing on the side as like a hobby, and when I had started a food blog, and then when I discovered grilling, I was using now he's my husband, my boyfriend's grill at the time, and it was like a crappy old charbroil that the gas starter was broken, and so I was just pumping so much gas into that grill, and eventually I just got the big flame ball effect, and pretty much almost fell into the pool because I'd almost set myself on fire, and luckily I did keep my eyebrows and all the things. But after that, I decided I would buy him a new grill. And then I fell in love with grilling because I was like, all right, I want to get my money's worth. And so then my food blog kind of morphed into Grill Girl, which, it started like a true blog. This was before Instagram, which also makes me sound old, right? But like, this is like OG. I'm one of like the first kind of like original bloggers that's still doing it. It's like a marathon, not a sprint. And I've been doing the marathon a while, but no, it's been cool. It's like through that I've really kind of turned Grill Girl into a full-blown recipe website, because when it first started, it was very much like I tried this recipe out. It was awesome. And it was really more like life with some, it's like what blogs used to be and what Instagram kind of used to be too. It's like sharing a lot of your life and whatnot. So, it's been fun. I mean, I've had some fun opportunities. I was on the first got chopped. I was super young in that world. Oyster experience was like, yeah, it was, but you know what? It's been a really fun, wild ride. I was on the Today Show back in the day, done a lot of different stuff. And like, I'm probably the only white girl out there that you will find doing like training cooking videos on like a tandoor, like the home door grill, like back in the day. I sent that to Jim actually, and he thought it was funny, but like, I've had a lot of fun, interesting experiences just by truly like, drinking a couple glasses of Pinot Grigio and starting a blog about grilling and
right.
My inner, just like, I really think of myself almost like a barbecue documentarian, right? Like, of course I do a lot of recipe development for brands and things like that. And for myself, but at the kind of root of it all, it's been like a journey where I just share my adventures. And part of that was me starting to do barbecue competitions with my dad. And that's how I actually know The Shed, was that my dad and I through my blog actually ended up like going to Memphis in May and competing on a team, which at that time was the Two Sauce to Pork team, which is like an OG rib team at Memphis in May. And then we started our own team. And then eventually and then my dad and his partner, like they broke up. You know how that goes. It's kind of like running a little, especially Memphis in May. It is very much like running a business. Like renting a tent is like $12,000. So you really do have to. So it's a significant investment. So and then that's how I actually met Brad and Brooke from The Shed. Was my dad used to compete in South Carolina when he lived there in South Carolina Barbecue Association, and he went to the NBBQA one year when they were in Greenville, and he got to meet Brooke and like the Shed family. And the rest is history. And then eventually I ended up like just getting really close with Brooke. And then I ended up on the team, on the Shed team, which is fun because we're the world champs right now. So it's been a really fun journey. It's really like, I think of the barbecue community as like my extended family. Like I was never in a sorority in college, and sometimes it takes a while to find like that group of people that are like your people. And I just feel like the barbecue community is my people, and just especially I've just made so many good friends through me just discovering grilling and putting myself out there about it, and just trying new stuff, and it's been really cool. So I feel like it's like everyone I've met in barbecue, it's been a blessing to my life.
Yeah, so there's not a show that doesn't go by. I don't think there's been one show that we've had where we've not mentioned it, that barbecue is family. And it's like on the outside, you don't think about it, but once you get into it, you just realize how much you get sucked into that family. And it's such a great place to be. I know you were talking about being at the Shed and stuff like that. And Greg said, hey, Robyn, sorry I missed Saturday at the Shed. I got the flu like Kel and Janet.
I'm sorry, Greg. I know it was going around. We missed you.
And Michelle said, oh my God, I lost an eyebrow at a competition too.
It totally happens. I don't have enough left over because I am a child of the 90s, and we overplucked back then. So,
I tend to stay away as much
right
as
now. You have some extra facial hair to spare. But anyway, so I digress. It's probably mostly dudes on the chat, and I'm talking about girly stuff, but I just have
Oh no, it's definitely not. We got my girl Trish in here from Griddle Crew. She says South Carolina's in the house, and then Terry White as well. We get a great mix of people in here. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of neat. I didn't realize that I thought you were only a social media. I didn't realize that you actually started on the competition trail. I mean, blogs are but I mean, that is dating yourself.
I am dating myself. And like I told you guys, I'm still 29. But no, I mean, I'm an OG blogger. And then my dad and I got into barbecue together. It was it was like our thing. Like, it was kind of like our father-daughter bonding thing, because like I had actually eventually moved to Florida, and then my dad was up in South Carolina. And I remember one year I got him an egg, for like Father's Day or whatever. And so that he had gone down on his own, like getting addicted to barbecue journey. And then a couple years later, I decide that I fall in love with grilling, like right when I had moved to South Florida. And I was like, I was excited because I had moved in with my boyfriend, and I was like really excited to have someone to cook for, because I love cooking, like, and then I like discovered grilling, and I'm like, cool, I can grill. I can be in my backyard it's the tropics, I had literally had parrots perched on the power lines behind my house, like I remember once I was filming some show for like the cooking channel, and they like highlighted my women's grilling clinics, and like the audio people were going crazy because there were so many parrots and birds like in the backyard. But it's like, it's just, yeah, I don't even know what I was talking about, but so I do have some street cred. I think that like when I talk about like it being a marathon, not a sprint, I've really had to evolve, because like in order to kind of survive, you kind of have to have a social media presence, right? Like there's a lot of times where I'm like, I don't really want to share myself online. I kind of have to force myself to put myself out there. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a very social person, but sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like showing my face on camera, but it's like a necessary evil with social media, is like you really, and especially a lot, and I'm really more, I'd say, information and recipe driven, but a lot of the characters online are, or I call them characters. A lot of social media is very character driven, right? Like, and that's, and it's a lot of, it's just a lot, so, but yeah, it's, I think we'll evolve, right? And try to keep our brands relevant. And so, that's what you got to do. So yeah, I was blogging way before I was ever doing the gram, and I still have a heart for writing, and God bless it. I even say, like, it would have been so much easier just to do Instagram, and I've never started the website, just because like having to know all the SEO and all the stuff and to keep it updated. I think of my website like an old house. Like, it's easier to build a new house from scratch with all the bells and whistles and all the modern stuff than it is to renovate a house. And a website is the same way. And like mine's old, right? Like I'm going through a whole website redo right now. Like I have this new SEO guy, and he's like, oh, we don't do this anymore. We don't do that. You don't do that. Blah, blah. Like everything changes, right? So you have to kind of keep up with all of that. So it's a lot.
Yeah, I can. Well, especially, I mean, it sounds like we're somewhere near the same age and boat there. That I never thought that at my age that I would be doing so much with Facebook and Instagram, and then I try to get it on TikTok, and then I dabbling with YouTube, this and that, and trying to get all the platforms satisfied with the show afterwards, and trying to cut it into bits and editing it and doing it. I never thought that I would be working a full-time job and trying to do that as well. I mean, so like you said,
that is a full-time job. It's so much. It's exhausting for sure. It's I think a lot of influencers, quote unquote influencers, make it look easy, but they have like a whole team behind them. Like I had even had a conversation with Al Fragoni a while back, because I was just like, how do you keep up with so much content and not get burned out? Because I think you really can get burned out, and I have been burned out too. And you just have to, like, I don't know, like some days I tell myself, I'm like, you know what, if I don't post something today, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's when you also start thinking about like long-term strategy where are the bigger gains for you, right? Like for me, I keep saying, of course, I still keep up the gram, but I'm like, I would like to invest more time into long form content, like my YouTube channel. Like I started a carnivore series, and it was just like a vlog, and I was like, I'm trying carnivore. Here's my thoughts. But even just doing that, and it was a lot of work to consistently do it. Like I did, like basically, I recorded myself every day for a week. But I could see like the community and building it and how awesome that was. But at least I feel like the ROI is greater because at least that's like more evergreen content. They can at least get views over time. And eventually you can monetize it with ad revenue, right? As you grow your channel versus Instagram's like, what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean? And Instagram's not even SEO friendly. TikTok and YouTube are SEO friendly. So if you put up content there, at least they'll pull up in a search engine. Like everything with Instagram lives in its own environment. So it doesn't really support anything else. So I digress. But I've made a ton of great friends on Instagram and I love it. It's just like, if you're thinking about like a long-term content strategy as a brand, I think there are other places that you might see more success more quickly from a monetization standpoint.
We got Ari Roberts, which is she's mama on the griddle. She's part of the griddle crew with me. She says, yes, ma'am, I agree.
100%. And I love griddling, for the record. I always say, you know what, if things don't work out, if I have to go work at the Waffle House, I will be like good to go. I love channeling my inner hibachi chef, and I can just go to town on a griddle.
I'll get this up here. Johnny Joseph, he was on here with us, and he said, hey, y'all, I had no problem getting in. He had a hard time getting in with the little technical difficulties when they were back here on the show.
Hey, Johnny.
He was our guest a couple of weeks ago with Sailor, and there was, speaking of people that as you get older that are technically challenged as myself, it was quite an adventure to get it right. I am technical. I don't deny it, Ryan. That's why you're the technical person, and I just kind of sit here and let you find all the pictures and stuff. Because if I had to do it, you'd never get it. But so you don't see yourself ever reinventing yourself like a female version of Stale Cracker. You're just never going to do a character.
No. I will say my husband has funny character names for me. But he calls me Conspiracy Carrie. That's like his little name for me behind the scenes. He's like, oh, there goes Conspiracy Carrie. Like, tone it down before we go out to dinner with those people tonight. Like, but no, I just honestly, that's just not me. I don't know why. I wish it could be. It's funny because I always wanted to be like a comedian when I was younger, and be like on Saturday Night Live. But actually, where I see myself pivoting is doing more lifestyle content because I just find that fun. Like if you watch my feed, I actually find all the health stuff really interesting. Like that's what I wrote my cookbook on, was like, and this was in 2019, but I mean, it was electric smoking, which is very niche-y, but it was keto and like paleo swap out. So I was still kind of more on that path of like, hey, we can do grilling and barbecue, or in this case, like smoking, but we can do it in a healthy way. We can cut out that nasty stuff and we can still enjoy barbecue without like gross ingredients, and so that's kind of where I see myself. Like I enjoy doing things like I'm going to redo, I have kind of like a small outdoor kitchen, but I'm about to like build a new one, and like that gets me excited, like even the design part of like outdoor cooking, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of places for me to go with all of that, and a lot of like value I can provide outside of just everything being so recipe driven. Because I think also what happened was after COVID hit, everyone became a barbecue expert online, and it's a very tough, it's very saturated, and it's just like, I almost sometimes, and I love barbecue and I love grilling, I almost sometimes have like fatigue, you know what I mean? So I look for new things that are different, like I actually got this cookbook. It was like the Japanese grill cookbook, and it was David from Melinda's Hot Sauce recommended it to me. It was like so inspiring, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. I just like to try new stuff. Like that's, but I think that's the hard part, is like always trying to push yourself and find new things, you know what I mean? Like It's not, there is some trial and error. Like, the other night I did, and I will say I'm always trying to like do more nose to tail eating and trying new like different parts of the animal. Like back in the day when I cooked an iguana, people thought I was super weird, but I really wanted to advocate for, yeah, like that's me.
Wow.
Like but I'm married to a hunter, and I don't like the idea of people just throwing like a protein source in the garbage. You know what I mean? Which is basically what people in South Florida do with iguanas. Uh, and it is actually very tasty on a side
Wow.
note. But like the other night, I did chicken heart skewers, and I'm like, I don't know how Instagram's going to react to this. You know what I mean? And my husband was like, it's okay. But like, that's my point. It's like, I just always want to be trying new things and pushing myself. And I just, it's a challenge, but it's also fun because you never want to just settle for what everyone else is doing. And I also just don't like to be bored, like I love smoking briskets and all the things, but I've done that a million times. So I'm like, okay, what else new can I do? And that gets me excited. So that's sort of where I am right now.
Yeah, I'll find myself scrolling through and looking up. I am part of the Blackstone Griddle Crew, so I look at other Griddle Crew members and things that they're cooking to see and take little bits and try to get it back into what I'm trying and trying different things and putting myself out there a little bit. It's kind of fun. And Barrel Proof says Robyn's content is great. Love the ingredient swaps.
Thank you, Susan. You're the best.
Got my good buddy Keith from Smoking Griddle Boys and Eric, the Shock Factor, Cafe Trail. Yeah.
Well, that kind of was, I was curious of that because obviously, I'm more on the retail end of it, and you see like Cosmo Q and Malcolm Reed and Heath Riles, and you kind of seen their content. Is it hard to keep coming up with fresh I mean, you released, it sounds like you have more of a variety of what you cook, but I mean, people always ask me all the time, they'll be like, oh, I don't see Malcolm doing as much. And it's like, okay, well, how many times can you cook a rib? How many times can you cook a brisket? How many different ways can you cook I mean, he's been doing it for how many years? It's like, how many times before it gets to be like, okay, here he is cooking a brisket again. Is it hard to come up with different content to stay somewhat fresh, or do you just kind of put the same stuff out there again?
Yes. And yes, both. Yes to both questions. And I think it is hard. That's why I'm always looking for inspiration from like different cultures, and also just different cuts that people aren't trying a lot, just because I also think the market, the way it is, like when you go to the grocery store, the cuts that used to be cheap, that got popular, are not cheap anymore. You know what I mean? So now you're like, now I got to find the next new thing that's not discovered yet,
Right.
So it's a lot of that. And I'm always trying to look for inspiration. That's why, I mean, for me, if you follow, like, especially the type of stuff I put in my stories, the stuff that doesn't necessarily, always make it as a static feed post or a reel, but the stuff I share in my stories, I share a lot of health information because I think that's really where there's a lot of value. I don't think we're lacking for barbecue content, but I think people do need to figure out how to get their health in check. And the Western diet is not conducive for that. And so I just try to share stuff that's worked for me. That's why I even did the carnivore vlog, because I was trying it out. But then I've always been kind of a very pro high protein. Actually, I'm really more animal based is the way I would say, as far as eating. But I've been really inspired by, his name was Dr. Ray Peat, his work. And that's actually his body of work is what Dr. Mercola basically just wrote his whole book about, which is all about metabolic health, which I think is kind of the next thing, like how to kind of root cause heal yourself, So I try, that's really what I'm pretty passionate about, because I have my own issues, and I think we all do, that I've been trying to address, that regular doctors don't even know what to do. They only really know how to like prescribe drugs and just like not really get you to the root cause of things. So like, I really in my current state, I'm kind of think of myself as my own, like, I guess like I'm only I can figure out, like, and rally for myself, right? To have optimal health. So a lot of that knowledge is sort of where I'm going with my recipes right now, is really like have fun with it, but also be intentional with it too, so you're not going to see stuff from me like all these people doing all these bacon wrapped Oreos and Ritz crackers wrapped in bacon, or like, because I would never eat a Ritz cracker because unless it was organic, but I would know it also has seed oils in it, so I just wouldn't eat it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are things that like you just won't see in my feed, and it's it sucks because sometimes that stuff's really fun, but that doesn't like align with my brand, So
Right.
You were talking about the exotic meats and stuff like that. So I was looking on your website, and the exotic meats is I think the pages might be down or something.
Could be. My site's going through an overhaul right now, but I do have a lot of exotic. And my husband's a duck hunter, so he's always bringing stuff home, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm happy I lived a good life until it, had a run-in with your shotgun.
Right.
Well, so I looked at the seafood section. I came across these, and I think I really want to try this. But these grilled octopus tacos.
Oh, that looks really good.
Octopus is delicious.
I was out at Blackstone headquarters last year for the social summit, and Steven Schmidt. What was that, Steve? I seen your face. I seen your face.
Well, we're on the parrotfish story again, Ryan. So I was just
well, that's funny, Steve, because I was talking about Steven Schmidt that last year they cooked an octopus.
I thought that was going to lead.
It wasn't the parrotfish, Steve.
I thought it was going to lead to the parrotfish, Ryan. You know how that happens.
We just banter back and forth. It's the way we tell we love each other. Gosh. But I was like, man, that looks really good. Now I want to try octopus.
Octopus is awesome. It's just like, I think it's really common in like Greek, like I think other cultures embrace it probably more than we do, but it's tasty, man. It's good. I mean, what's cool is it's like, even in Florida, I can't say I have like the best access to seafood. Now I kind of live inland a little bit, but it's a beautiful thing. You can go to somewhere like Wild Fork Foods, for example, and even get like octopus like shipped to your house. Like, so it's kind of cool what's become available, I'd say, via e-commerce lately, trying more exotic meats and things like that you might not have access to.
Should do the ostrich egg.
Oh. Wow. No, that's a huge egg.
So this is, we did this last year at the summit again, Steve. But we did a tomahawk on the Blackstone and then an ostrich egg as well with it.
How
was it? I've never tried that before. I would totally be down.
Amazing.
It was a pretty cool video. I do have to say, Ryan, as much as credit as I give Ryan, he does cook some pretty neat, fun stuff. And the ostrich egg video he did from the headquarters was pretty good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just going to say, I know you're looking for pictures. I'm just surprised you don't have that like on speed dial or something.
I know. I thought I had it in our list, but I might have had to move it out for some other stuff. But the one ostrich egg is the equivalent to, or that one specifically was the equivalent to 24 regular size eggs.
Holy crap. Wow.
One thing. So, I mean, it's, I my page is Barbecue Blackstone and Beer. That's what it started off with. I've converted more to cooking a lot more on the flat top after being involved with Blackstone. But to be able to say that, you can do a tomahawk on a grill or on a smoker, we did it on a flat top. And it came out perfect. And if you get the chance to get an ostrich egg, do it. It's amazing. The yolk is just almost like a custard. It's so good and so velvety. It was just amazing.
It sounds delicious. And I like steak on a flat top. I mean, think about steak and cast iron. It's kind of like the same
thing.
Just same thing. Yeah. For
sure. I will say,
Ryan disappeared.
I'm not. Oh, did we lose Ryan? What happened?
So sometimes when he does technical stuff, strange things happen.
I hate this mouse. It's got the little thumb buttons for the forward and back on the page.
So one time, Robyn, speaking of this, now that he did this, one time he did this, we were doing a live cooking with Sonny Moody and Michelle O'Gwin. We were doing a live cook thing, and Ryan was, I think you were at the headquarters, Ryan, and he from Blackstone, because they were at their thing, And he popped in, just wanted to say hi to everybody. And he said hi. And then he's like, all right, I got to go. See you, everybody. And whatever he did, he ended the live. So it stopped. And I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, okay, I think Ryan just cut us all off. So I had to recreate a new event quickly, which of course I'm obviously not very technically inclined on a normal pace, but when I'm rushing to try and get things done, but we finally got it up. So yeah, so he's that happens quite often when he goes to click himself out, he disappears. We're lucky we're all still here.
Yeah, no, I just said, oh shit. As soon as I was like, oh no, it happened again. I only ended the live one time.
I know, but that's all it takes then to make it a
drinks involved. I mean, we were having a good time.
It's easy to happen. I've had so many technical issues in my time. Like I'm like cringe, I'm like, I had this one thing. I was supposed to do this live stream with the turkey board, and like every possible electronic thing could totally go wrong, And then my husband's like, well, did you restart your computer? And I'm like, no, of course I didn't. He's like, well, that's all you had to do. And I'm like, well, why didn't I think of that like 30 minutes ago? Like it's just, it happens.
Yeah, when you're on the fly, my day job is IT for a bank, and that's the first thing is restart everything.
And it never occurs to me, and that's like, I always give my husband this like electronic godlike status, and he'll just be like, I just turned it off and turned it back on again. And I'm like, why did I not do that?
Well, the worst part about it is I think we went for like 2 or 3 minutes before I finally looked at the top of the screen and it said, live stream has ended. And I'm like, what does it mean live stream has ended? And then I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, oh my God, it's gone.
Right.
And I'm like, that thing Ryan sabotaged us.
I try to come in and I try to help out. That's what happens. Eric said, have you all tried an alligator?
That's what I want to talk about. So I have a funny alligator story, because this is probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, I cannot have Malcolm Reed beating me out for alligator when I live here in Florida, and I literally have alligators in my backyard. And when I say that, when I moved from South Florida to, I think this is a very Florida story. When I moved from South Florida to Southwest Florida, so I went from like North Miami to Fort Myers, I moved on the Caloosahatchee River. And I happened to have befriended the, I don't know what his title is. So we have a gator hotline here in Florida. I don't know if you know that. For a nuisance gator hotline. So I used to have a Chihuahua with cataracts, and I lived on a river that was on a canal. So I was surrounded by water on like 3 sides. And I was always afraid that this alligator was going to eat my dog. And sometimes, and we were on like their feeding path. So I would see them certain times of the day, always swimming by. And then every time I would be like using my big green egg, they would hang out right by the side. This one gator would like hang out right by the side of the seawall. And I was like, I am over this. So I called the gator hotline. And it's so funny because he had this remote control gator like boat that looked like a gator head that he brought out. And it was funny because we had the same boat that looked like a gator from Walmart. Like he literally had the same one. And it came out with like a CD player, and they made the gator call noise to like wheel them in, because what they would do with the gator is he took them to a gator farm. And so anyway, they never were able to catch that one gator in my backyard, but that's how I befriended him to buy gator meat from. And so I decided to smoke a gator. I think this was like the first one I did, I want to say was like, it was bigger. It was like 5 feet. And I squeezed it onto my Green Mountain Grill pellet smoker. And then we had a really bad storm and my power went out. And so it messed my whole cook up because I didn't know where my Jackery was. It was like I left it somewhere. Anyway, I was SOL, and it was a real pain in the ass because like preparing to smoke a gator, there's some prep work involved. You got to brine it because you really don't want it to taste like gator. That's why you do all that stuff to it. And so then I had to call Tracy, like that's who happens to also be a preacher. So he's like Tracy, the gator catcher / preacher. Like that's what they call him. He's like the gator preacher. Anyway, I call him
up. Which is also very Florida, it sounds like, is to have to be someone called the gator catcher / preacher, because that just sounds right.
Totally. And I call him up and I'm like, I need another gator from you. And he's like, well, you're in luck. I just caught you a fresh one this morning. And so the story on gator number 2 was that this gator was living in this drainage pipe underneath this lady's driveway. And every time she went out to check her mail, this gator would come out. And so that was the gator I ended up smoking on the video. If you do like smoked gator, you'll see my old backyard and you'll see I'm surrounded by water, and that's like the whole thing. Like, so that's my gator story. And my husband has hunted gators. Like, you have to apply for a permit and all the things, but he doesn't really do it anymore because like he's, it's kind of like once you've had gator, you're not like, oh, I can't wait for some gator. Like it's still an acquired taste. You're still eating a reptile. And I mean, you can wrap it in enough bacon and keep it moisturized enough that it'll actually taste like I think pulled pork if you do it the right way. I like to make tacos out of it, but still the point is like, no, or not. At least to me, people aren't like, oh, I can't wait to have some gator. You know what I mean? It's like
can't wait to have some gator. I was always curious about the quality of the meat because they're not exactly the, I guess, I don't know. I guess they're not, they eat just about anything.
Yeah.
But that would be the bacteria in the meat, but I guess that cooks out, I guess. But
well, and because they are reptiles, you do have to be careful. Like, you're not really supposed to touch the skin. You don't want it to touch other things, like because of the bacteria and all the stuff. Yeah. So there's a whole thing with gator. But I make a joke. I'm like, if we get hit with the apocalypse, like we have such an abundant protein source because like I literally live in like the swamp. You know what I mean? Wow. And like I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Like when I say we have 30 acres and like half of the year, like probably 11 of those acres are underwater. So, but
that'd be pretty cool.
It's fun, but most of it, like you can have water, like where we live, the side of the road is dry half the year. And then the other 6 months it's wet and they're all the ditches are full of water and there are gators. They're full of gators. So they come from wherever they come, so it's, they're everywhere. I mean, they're literally like roadkill. Like you see them as roadkill.
Well, they look great on the grill. I know that's from the website. So I couldn't get into it because it's getting the work on it, but yes.
5 foot. How big of a Green Mountain grill do you have? How did you coil that around?
It was Daniel. You coil the tail. You coil the tail, and I think it was. Yeah, the first one was much larger. The second one was smaller. So, but I have pictures. When I tried to finish it on my big green egg, and it's like coiled. It was.
It's a gator pinwheel.
That's exactly what it was.
Gator tail pinwheel. Yeah.
Tail pinwheel.
Exactly.
So now I want to get a gator and try it on the Blackstone.
No.
Steve gives me a hard time. He's challenged me.
I don't know if you could put it. I still want to see you do the chili on the Blackstone. That's
I was just going to say, it's a heat source. So all I got to do is put a pan on it.
I know, but you got to stir it up and keep it stirred and moving. That's a lot of work on it.
It's the same thing you're doing when you're doing it on your stove. You got to stir it up and keep it moving. But I could see a gator on the Blackstone, sear it up, put it up on a rack, put a dome over it. Now you're
big dome.
It's a big dome. I mean, it's not much bigger than your dome, but
wow.
I want to see it if you do it. Tag me. I'll share it across the interweb.
Now I just got to get a gator.
Let's go get one.
I got to call the preacher.
I know a guy.
He'll ship it up there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be a part of it. If you're going to do that, then let me know because I'll come over just for the poops and giggles of it.
All right. It'd be fun. Now I got to look it up and see what it's going to cost.
We can do it. We can do it. I'll help video it. We can do like a live broadcast of that. That would be interesting.
How long did it take to cook your gator?
I'm trying to remember. At least I want to say at least 6 hours, if I remember correctly. But it cooks pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Just kind of like babysitting it, and it obviously depends on the size. Like keeping it moist, I think, is the biggest thing, and wrapping it with lots of fat because it's very dry.
It's very dry, yeah. They say it tastes like chicken though.
It does. It
She said
does.
pulled pork.
Well, because I wrapped mine in so much bacon, but it's kind of the texture is kind of like a cross between fish and chicken.
A fishy chicken.
Mhm.
Now I feel challenged.
Isn't that tuna, the chicken of the sea, Ryan? Tuna? Who's the fresh chicken of the sea? Starkist?
You just went off on a deep end, Steve.
Well, I guess you have to be old enough, Ryan, to remember the
I remember
Charlie tuna and who's the best tuna chicken of the sea.
I mean, just because we're 29, Steve. I mean, that's just you just talk about yourself.
Never claim. I will never ever claim again to be 29.
It's a great year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now I'm like, why is my site not pulling up? Like I've been doing work, but I'm like, that shouldn't be. But it would be the time. It would be how timing works.
Yeah.
You know,
everything. All the other links that I was going through or trying to go through so far, everything worked. Just not the exotic one.
Okay.
It just says page not found. So maybe they're working on that one specifically and trying to get more gator pictures up there. But
could be.
So you talked about you started off with your now husband's grill and then you got him a new one. What grill did you get? What are you cooking on?
My OG was a Weber gas grill, believe it or not, a Weber Genesis back in the day, and now I cook on everything, there's a lot of stuff in my backyard, but I cook on the Big Green Egg. That's kind of an old standby just because, truth be told, I have all kinds of different grills, all the different grills with the digital tech and the blah, 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 and the pellet smokers. But really, all I really like to do is something that doesn't need a plug because I just don't want to deal with grilling and technology. I know some people want all the bells and whistles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything. I don't need to run I don't want to have to run an update on my grilling software. Like that is really unappealing to me. Like a grill that needs a firmware update is not my friend. And you've seen that, right? And I've dealt with it, and I've had so many experiences taking grills apart and getting especially pellet grills, because they are so popular. And they're great when they're working. And maybe it's because I do live in the swamp and I live in like probably the most humid state out there, but I'm really all about like, just give me some charcoal or just some wood. I love like the live fire grilling. Before Al Fragoni made that popular, that was like, Francis Mallman was the OG. And someone gave me his cookbook back in the day because I went to Argentina on my honeymoon, and like that really inspired me. And Al's done such a good job sharing that way of cooking with people. But think about it, like the new way is the old way, cooking over fire, right? But yeah, but to answer your question, I have all the things in my backyard. I have an egg. I've been doing a lot of work with Coyote Outdoor lately, which is more like they're more like built-in kitchens type stuff. So yeah, I was doing some work with Schwenk grills. I kind of have run the gamut. And honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with just cooking on a kettle. Like that's like, I feel like that's the democratization of grills, like just give me a kettle. I love cooking on a flat top. I think that's what my kid loves to cook with me on the flat top. I think that's really fun. I was doing some work with Loco for a little bit, and so yeah, I'm like, I've always been too, like I've always said, I've never really tied myself to one company because as a blogger and also someone on social, like unless they're going to pay me a spokesperson fee to only work on their one grill, right? Because a lot of these companies are like, oh, you can only cook on this, and it's like, okay, well, do you want to back that up with the dollars, to keep me from the entire space? But so I've always been kind of like, I like to know how to cook on all things, because how can I consider myself an expert at grilling if I only cook on one brand or one type of grill, So, but if I had to say what's my favorite, I just give me some charcoal because you can't screw it up, it's,
right.
and therapy, you know, when you get that smoke off the grill, it's like, it's really, it is like free therapy. I call it grill therapy. It's like, there's nothing better than that whole experience, you know? And I get it. I'm a mom. I have, you know, a kid and life is busy. Like, of course I'll use my gas grill or my other easier, quicker, but there's still nothing like just cooking over fire.
Yeah. Something about getting, you know, I don't see about getting tied down to one company either.
Blackstone.
Sorry, Ryan. I wasn't directed at you. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm just kidding.
It's okay. He is tied down to one company, so don't worry about it. You're okay. I have a go back question because I was thinking of some. You know, you was talking about, you know, it's not getting bored or doing this. Do you? You know, we have Harry Sue on. You know, a couple weeks ago, back around Thanksgiving. He does a lot of traveling to learn different styles of food. Do you do that, or would that be something you would, you know, because he always brings up, he's like, oh, this is really good in Mexico. And then this is really good in Korea. Oh, I like this in Japan. And oh, this was really good. And it's like, I think that would be a kind of a fun little, I don't like to fly, so it'd be hard for me to do, but to see different types of cooking from around the world that might, and then you could find your way to take those different things and bring them in to your own way of cooking it.
100%. You know, I would love to travel more if I didn't have like a kid in school, you know, right. Or have to be like a mom and like kind of be responsible and hold the fort down. Now I have like, it's kind of like a mini farm. Like I don't have like horses, but I have like 25 up to 30 chickens and 10 ducks and 3 dogs and a kid. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like a lot when you travel. Right. But I love like learning about food in different cultures. Like we went to Italy last year and it gave me a ton of inspiration. Like we visited these different like biodynamic farms and learned how to make pizza with like wheat they grew and, you know, and the cheese from their sheep and all the things, you know, and plus their food their standards are so much higher than the US. Like they don't allow you to spray your wheat with glyphosate and everything's not so processed, you know? So, right. And then the year before that, my husband was working for a company in India and I took a week to go visit him and it really blew my mind. And because I love Indian food anyway, obviously I think it's a missed opportunity that they don't eat beef, but you know, that's, you're not going to change that anytime soon, but, which that's a side story. I remember when I did a recipe once for the home door grill, which is basically like an at-home tandoori, which your market is probably more people who are like Indian or Pakistani or from that area, you know, and I did a beef recipe. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but maybe that's your way of making it like selling it to
Americanizing.
I don't even know. I digress. But no, India was so cool. So my husband and I took an all-day like master curry making or class, like with a master chef, and in his restaurant, and it was just so cool. And I'd really actually like to go back because we focus so much on the curry side, but I'd really like to do more of the tandoori side. And it's you know, you have life that's going on. Like my kid was with my parents, so you can't be gone forever, but I would love to go back and bring him and show my son, just because he's actually pretty culinarily adventurous. Like I don't know other 9-year-olds like that will eat like, I mean, he eats sushi, but like the first time he ate sushi, he's like eating quail eggs and like just sashimi, you know. And this was when he was like 6. I'm like, dang, that's pretty adventurous. You know, for kids who are like, I only eat chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and blah blah blah. But no, I absolutely would love to do more travel, and it is a huge source of inspiration for me. Like one of the first cool places I think I went, like from a food standpoint, was when my husband and I were earlier on in our dating. We went to Morocco because we had a friend there, and that's like the spice capital, you know. And going into like the spice, whatever you call it, shop, and getting like what they call like they make each shop makes its own kind of like blend called Ras El Hanu, and it's kind of like their own house blend. And it's just like the whole thing was just really inspiring. So, and even living in South Florida, because it's so diverse, was a huge inspiration to me. It actually got me really into Jamaican food. And like, you'll see that all over my site is like my Jamaican jerk paste for like making chicken. Like, it was actually inspired by, believe it or not, a Jewish guy I knew in the FBA, the Florida Barbecue Association, who won like the Caribbean Festival with it, believe it or not. But like, you know what I mean? Because that speaks to the diversity of South Florida. But yeah, that's where I pull inspiration. It's really from other cultures and other countries, because that's fun to me.
Yeah, you can't beat. I love Indian food. My father was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, and I want to get over there and see, that side of the food. I grew up a little bit on it, but I would love to travel. And, I'm in the same boat. That's why I couldn't get down to the shed. My son's in 7th grade, so it's hard to just up and go.
Right. It's like that. I see a lot of people traveling all the time, and I'm like, usually it's a lot more like, I see more guys doing it, at least, because it's hard if you have a family to be like, I'm going to be gone at a grilling competition or a grilling event every single weekend. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You have a family that needs you to be there, so these are choices we make. So, but I would choose my family over barbecue every day.
100%, without a doubt. But,
well, next year
one day we'll
for
get the Grill battle down in Florida. And
oh, Jesus.
Come on.
Yes.
Well, there are plenty of gators here if you want to do a gator, where it's just don't ask, don't tell where it came from out here in the country.
I know.
Well, next year
I
for
gotta
the
get that in on every
you
show
always got to
too,
get the
so
griddle battle in.
the
Right when
griddle
I was
battle.
going to talk about jerk chicken, and you brought up that darn griddle battle. So next year for the shed, because I plan on going again if they're going to have all that live fire stuff, could you do some of your jerk chicken so I could taste it and just
let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. And the recipe is on my website. I'll send it to you. I mean, you can try it anytime, but it's I just love. I actually have a batch of peppers I'm growing right now, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to make, like, now I'll have my own peppers to put into a paste. Or I used to actually, and even before Grill Girl, this is just because like when I get into something, I get into it. Hot sauce was like really my first love in college, and I started making hot sauce all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably and now this is a great recipe. You guys should try it. I like to smoke the peppers and then make hot sauce out of it. Like, I have a smoked sriracha on my site that's like, if you love hot sauce and like the flavor, like that's a good one to try. I digress. We're talking about food. Let's go anywhere.
I'm not a huge hot sauce person, but I can be tempted to try something hot, but I'm just always
and it's some peppers are just flavor. They're not that hot,
Yeah, that's what I want. I want flavorful hot sauce with, with. I mean, you can have a little bit of heat. I'll take that, but I just want something that adds a little bit of flavor to that as well. Did you put the Jamaican jerk recipe out?
I went and found it. It's the Jamaican jerk scratch chicken. The recipe's right there, so you guys can go check it out.
I am not only a huge fried chicken fan, but I do like a really good jerk chicken. I don't know why, because it can be hot sometimes, and it's a jerk. Well, that could be too, but I just can't stop eating it once I start it, because it's like punishment for doing it. I don't know why, but
it's so much flavor.
It's so much flavor. It's so good that you just fight through it because it's so good. But
I'm speaking like going through your site and stuff and looking at different things, guys, there's a lot of recipes out there on our website. So if you haven't, go check it out.
Thanks, you guys. It's like food porn mixed with a little bit of history and maybe some jokes mixed in, all the things. Like, my life is documented on that site, that's for sure.
I mean, I could almost go through a rabbit hole and just sit here and look through all the different stuff that's on here right now. It's amazing. No, great job. It looks good.
Well, thank you.
I'll wait for the exotic link to get fixed, but I can't wait to see what's on there.
No, I have to ask this question, because we met at the shed, and when she told me that she was going to be at the shed, she said, "Look, I'll be the little blonde girl. You can't miss me." And I just didn't think of it, and I was telling her the story, and then here comes this girl, and I mean, we could do like we did with Brad last week with the weight. I mean, I'd have to say, are you 5 foot or 5'1" or what?
I'm 5'1". Yeah.
Right on. She's really short, Ryan. I mean, not to be, I'm not saying it in a bad
I'd
way,
like
but
to call it petite. Okay.
petite. But I mean, I'm sorry, petite.
Yeah.
But when she said it, I'm just like, okay, well, she's just an, and then I'm like, well, that's got to be Robyn. That she is petite.
Yeah.
But
I am small with a big personality.
Yes, absolutely. But it's just like now it's got a whole perspective when I see you on your page and you're standing next to the green eggs and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's like, all right, yeah.
Well, and I haven't even talked about this yet, but early on when I started Grill Girl, it just became obvious to me that, like, if I can do this, like grilling, it's not a big deal. And I started wondering, like, why were more chicks not grilling? Now, think about this. This was 2010. We're on Instagram. It's 2025. Lots of chicks are grilling in our feed. I don't know how many women are actually grilling in the general population. I think it's more than it used to be, but I still don't. It's definitely not. It's not 50-50. But the point is, like, that's when I started doing these women's grilling clinics, because I wanted other women to feel like they could learn to grill in like in a fun, like, girls' night out type environment, and just regular chicks like me, like, you know what I mean, like, and kind of also to like bust that stereotype that if you're a chick that's into grilling, you're like a burly pitmaster type, because I'm absolutely not that. No. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I do cook weird stuff. Let's just say that, because I'm culinarily adventurous, but I'm like a petite girl. You'd see me on cooking demos. I might be wearing a dress and heels. I'm like, I got this. We can be the hostess with the mostest, and I can use a grill in my backyard, and it's not a big deal. Right. You know what I mean? Because I think it's just a damn shame that there's still so much, like, gender stereotype with grilling, when I think it's just a missed opportunity for women, because it's fun. It can be easy. It's great to get your family involved. It can be healthy. All the things. Less dishes is a plus for me. Right. So that's kind of always been my thing, is like, I don't want to be stereotyped into that, like, that rough, burly pitmaster thing. That's not me at all, and I want to, like, other chicks to know you can be a 5'1" petite female and be a badass in your backyard, or
what in the would what would you think of the idea of here at, if I could get it to happen at Wanamaker's, which it probably won't happen, but what if we could do a mother-daughter grilling night, have you, Sunny Moody, and Little Gringa come in and do a cooking class based around women, when you be just
yeah. I love that.
Mothers and daughters in this way, moms can and the daughters can see you and Sunny as adult women who have grasped the whole cooking and grilling type of thing, but then they can also see you don't have to wait till you get older, because we could have Little Gringa there and they could see, look, at 13, 14 years old, you could be doing it right now. You don't have to wait till you get to be older to cook. You could be doing this now.
Totally. I would love that. I'm close with both of them. I've actually rebooted my women's grilling clinic, where I bring in, because when I first started, we had like gas and charcoal. Now we have like gas, charcoal, pellet, flat top, pizza ovens, all the things, live fire, everything. And so I do like circuit training, and I bring Sunny in, and they each teach like a station, and it's so fun. But I'm very close with Sunny, so I would love to do that.
I think that would be fun. I think that would be a fun, kind of like the current, for moms, to be moms, and then have that, Ray reach out to the kids, because even as we talked a lot last week, because Brooke and Brad were on. We did talk a lot about, again, the kids queue that we talked about with Johnny, and I think that's important. I just think, not that even to getting into the competition world, but that kids should know that they can do this, and especially I think in the girl aspect of it is you don't have to yield the grill to your brother or to this or that. I mean, you can run the show.
100%. Actually, I think wasn't it Johnny Joseph's granddaughter that won Kids Q?
Yes. Yeah, she was on with him. Yeah, Sailor. Yeah. So, and then
I learned from that. If you're a kid, this is what I learned because Hunter did not place and he was very upset, but he competed with Brooke's son and daughter, and they all basically did the same thing, but Hunter decided not to inject his pork chop and he did not place in the top 10 and they did. So I said, well, there you go. So
now you learned.
And he also didn't use my rub, and Brooke's son used my rub, and I said, well, anyway, I digress. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, but you know what I mean.
I'm not kidding.
You should listen to your mom, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
it's hard as a mom to not be like, I told you so. But that was like a good lesson learned. I mean, it's so good to get the kids in, to bring it back in. It's so good to get them involved. I'd much rather my kid be cooking pork chops than just addicted to playing like Roblox all day. Right. You know,
no,
and that's like a life skill that he can have, even if he's not like a hardcore competitor, which a lot of those kids are. He comes out and has fun, and he kind of goes feral with Brad's kids, and they all have fun on the like out there and just have a blast. And I think that's what it's about, is just exposing them to that stuff. And no, you know, yeah, absolutely. Teaching kids to cook too is like really important, I think.
Yeah, my son he just turned 13 in January, but he's competed in two of the griddle battles so far, and
cool,
just loves it. But I just can't get him to practice and do more cooks until it's like right before.
I know that's the hard part.
Yeah, but one day he'll get there. I told him he's not going to compete in the next one if he's not practicing his cooks now. So
well, he's just doing it for the fun of the sport, Ryan. I mean, you got to remember that aspect of it. I mean, some people they want to do it for fun. I mean, look, Robyn can attest. I mean, I was a deer in headlights and looked like a lost child at the mall at that steak competition. I mean, I stood there. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going, or nothing. And I hate to tell you, it was one of the best days of my barbecue life, because I've never experienced the whole thing, and it was just one of the funnest things ever. And I have my good friend Jim Taylor to thank for that. And
it's so fun, right? I mean, I have not done a ton of steak comps, but I brought my dad out of like barbecue retirement to do that one. And I mean, most of those people there on the circuit, that is like, it's like the world champs, you know, it's not the world champs, but like, that's a big one. And those people are there. That's a very competitive. So, but I mean, that's also part of it. It's like, even if you're like, okay, I may not be the first, these people, this like you're competing against people like Johnny Joseph, but you're going out and having fun, I think is what it's about.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know the story. I may have told you it down at the shed. So Ryan, I don't know if you know the whole story of what happened, but I'm waiting till we got further away from the shed competition, because I don't really want to make anybody mad. But so what ended up happening is, obviously I was going to the shed and I called Jim Taylor because I was waiting to see if he was going to come down. And we were talking about his charcoal, whether it's going to be in the Ace warehouse or whatever, so I can get it to bring it in stock. And we were and I said, you know what? I was this close to actually paying to sign up, because I'd never cooked a competition before, but I think it would be absolutely hilarious if I did it. And wouldn't it be funny if I won, having never cooked a competition? And so we both laughed about it and had a good time with it. And then Saturday, after the class with Sean Young, which I have at the store, it was back in February there, I get a text from Jim, and he says, well, guess what you're doing next Saturday? And I texted back. I said, well, I'm going to be at the shed. He says, well, guess what? You're cooking in the showdown. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I signed you up. And I'm like, what do you mean you signed me up? And he says, you're cooking it. And I said, and I'm like, I've never cooked one before. I said, are you serious? I said, are you kidding me? He was absolutely dead serious. So that's how I got to cook at the shed. And as we were talking about barbecue family, nothing's funner than, as you know, picking on family. And I think he had got a kick out of the fact that I was doing it, and I had the greatest time. It was probably one of the best things that ever happened.
It's a good time. Well, you know, and there is something to be said for just going out there and doing it, because a couple of years ago, they used to give some really good prizes for dead ass last. Like they did. Like one year they had RecTech as a sponsor, and this one kid, he must have been like 16 or 17. I think his dad was like the beer rep but anyway, so he was somehow affiliated with the shed, like, or he knew about it, and he'd never cooked a steak before, and he got dead ass last. and he got like $1,000 smoker out for it. So it's like sometimes there can be some real gains to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, the last one that I did, the last one that I did, the DAL prize was a 12-year-old bottle of Pappy.
Okay, well, so there you go.
And what did you finish? You finished next to Dead Ass last, didn't you? Or
did not actually think we were.
Well, I wasn't sure. I know you were close, or you were somewhere in the middle, somewhere, and you were, because I remember you were saying, it's
well,
like,
we can graciously say that we took third place in the ancillary.
There you go.
Well, yes, three out of three. 3 out of 3 teams isn't bad, Ryan. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yes.
But no, it was a great time at the show. I do have to ask you though. I know we're over time because it's a good conversation, but how do you come up with those Bloody Mary? I mean, I sat there and watched those things come in. Obviously, the party starter, Craig Carter. I don't know how he dreams up these things that that thing was absolutely beautiful. But how do you come up with these ideas for that? I mean,
it's so crazy. And I will give you a history. Like earlier on in the history of this competition, I did well. I got like a 3rd place on my Bloody Mary. So I've always been kind of like, okay, how do I build on this? But since then it's gotten so much more competitive. And now I really feel like I don't even wonder. I mean, I don't even know how much they put into the judging as it relates to the taste, because there's so much pomp and circumstance in this Bloody Mary. And it's almost like it's like a STEM exercise, like it's like you're building like a diorama on a mason jar. But a lot of time and energy goes into it. And I for Craig Carter, I think he basically does that same entry every year, but maybe with different food. But I think it's something that he does because he's like a professional full-time caterer, and he does it for a lot of really big brands. And I think that that's like his thing he does. And what I've heard, and this at least is what I'm having a brain fart right now. Oh my gosh, Bama. What am I trying to say? It's the end of the day. My brain's fried. Tim Van Duren told me is that based on what he'd seen, that they actually place a lot more importance on the food that's in your Bloody Mary. You know what I mean? Like, and think about Craig. He's got like shucked oysters, and it's like it's literally. I bet he spends like I don't know, at least $500, $600 on just the food itself. But I think there is an element of creativity that you have to put into it to really stand out because of the grandeur of it. And so it takes a village. So last year, George Logue, he's on my team at the Shed. And so, of course, we all come out and do the Shed Steak Showdown and support Broad and Brook. But so last year, he actually printed out a faucet with a 3D printer. And it was a Bloody Mary faucet. And it was so cool. But then then he printed the faucet out, and then he got like some kind of pipe on Amazon that circulates the Bloody Mary. But then it leaked. So I think he might even get DQ'd. So, but then you'll see then people start copying each other. So like this year, someone else did a faucet, and then George, I had actually asked George, I said, do you think you could show me, like, do you think I could get a 3D printer, or do you think like, what's my learning curve on this? Because what I wanted to do was I wanted to have, like I did, a camper with a Weber grill and a flamingo, like its little camper scene, because they're at a campground, but I also am like obsessed with flamingos, as you can tell. And it's kind of like on my logo. And so I just thought it would be cute, kitschy camper look. So then he ended up just printing like the stuff for me with his 3D printer and like sending it to me. And then he ended up doing a really much bigger Weber kettle. If you look at his entry, and I could probably find a photo of it, where then he literally had a grill on top of his Bloody Mary with, it looked like the food had perfect grill marks and the blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I think you have drinks, and then you start thinking about your entry next year. You're like, what am I going to do that's different? You know what I mean? Like,
well, see, you got to do one that has like a little kettle, and then you get yourself like 3 or 4 like pellets from your pellet grill and light it so that they smoke. So this way, your grill is actually smoking with the little meat on it and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
I love flamingos too.
The food is a big deal, I think, still, because like I put chicken and waffles on my skewers, and candied bacon, and even donuts.
Yep, there it is.
And then by the end of the day, like a couple hours later, people had like eaten all the chicken and waffles off, which I thought was funny. Like little people walking up and just grazing on it. It might have been Brad's kids. I don't know. But like, it's just, I do think that the judges care about the food on the Bloody Mary. So it's kind of like a Bloody Mary contest, it's like a diorama, and also food all go into that equation. So right. I don't know, like this, it's really the only like thing I enter. So like competitively. So I'm like, you have all year to think about it, you know, like I've already got some ideas going, and now my son wants to enter one, like, you know, so, I mean, you know, Riley with Right on Cue, I mean, she's a kid and she's been doing Bloody Mary for years. You just don't put the vodka in the Bloody Mary. So
right.
Yeah, it's the one competition you pack a glue gun for, you know?
Right.
Well, as I was saying, I do love flamingos as well. And if I had 30
my
acres,
house, you would be like, this is home.
I love flamingos. Yeah, and if I had 30 acres, I'd have at least one llama. I really like llamas.
They're super cute. And my son has been asking, so you never know. It's and he wants a donkey too. I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm all, you know, I think about it, you know, but then I worry because we have predators on the property. You have like coyotes, and we have you get the what do we get? The puma, not the pumas, the panthers, the Florida Panthers, which is basically like a mountain lion. And what's the other one I'm having, my brain is fried, but what are they called? The ones that ate my chickens. I'm totally
foxes, coyotes, bobcats.
Bobcats. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Good job, Steve.
So then you're like, I guess llamas, you wouldn't have to worry. I had a friend who had miniature donkeys and they got eaten by a mountain lion, and that just sounds awful.
Unless they were seasoned properly.
I don't know how llamas would do if there's mountain lions, but
spit at you.
I don't know. I just think I hate to say it. My son Colin, you know, at the store when they're done with greeting cards for the season, sometimes they'll put them out to take, and I must have like 15 llama cards.
Oh, they're so cute. They really are. We went to a llama farm once, and my son was like, we need to have llamas. And I was like, you know, I was thinking about it for a hot second. Like, I was like, maybe people could come on tours to see the llamas. Like, these are things that I was thinking about, you know? Yeah,
and they can scream it. So yeah, it's a llama. It's actually a Christmas card, but every year for his birthday, instead of having this, it says "Fa la 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 llama" inside. And it says happy holidays. So every year for his birthday, I cross out holidays and write in birthday, because it's this llama wearing these big black glasses, kind of like this. And Colin has glasses like I do. So it kind of looks like Colin. And
that's so cute.
Yeah, so I must have like 5 or 6. So for the next 5 or 6 years, I've already told him this, and you're getting llama cards. It's going to be the same one. It's just because I like it so much.
But they're adorable. They're adorable.
I was trying to find it.
Here.
I was trying to find it. I'm over here, but I couldn't find the card. But yeah, so you could see it. But,
yeah,
that's adorable. Well, maybe we'll put llamas on our Bloody Marys next year. I mean, maybe that's a sign. Maybe I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do?
Llamas cooking on the grill. A llama and a flamingo cooking something on the grill.
I love it.
I did have an idea to do some stuff with flamingos for next year. That's what my son wanted to do, because like, I really like flamingos a lot. So we'll see.
Yeah, I love flamingos.
And I bet you'll see campers there next year, because usually if somebody does something fun, then the next year someone else will do that. You know, like you'll see.
Maybe more people don't know that Brad and Brooke like own the Cozy Rosie again. So yeah, maybe campers will become more in vogue. Yeah. I love the Cozy Rosie. I know we talked about it last week. I had such the greatest time in the whole world staying at the Cozy Rosie.
Well, one year I rented I rented one of his RVs. It was fun. You're like right there.
I was in the cabin and I loved it. It was, I mean, literally like, I mean, you're like 15, not even like 3 minutes away from there. So it's like you could go back, take a little nap. You know, it was funny because I only did the one steak. It was funny. I went up to sign up for the steak and she's like, oh, okay, here's, you know, your steak A, your steak B. So you get 4 steaks or whatever. No, I'm like, no. Just, can I just do A or B? I don't want to do both. I said, I've never done this before. And I think 4 steaks would just overwhelm me. So can we just do 2? And she's like, okay, that's fine. So,
yeah.
And then lo and behold, there's more to the whole story. Is my name wasn't on any list. So I went there that day to get my steak and I got my little thing and everything. And I'm talking to Tricia. I'm like, my name's not on any list. And they gave me my stuff. I said, something's not right. So I went to go turn it back in. Okay. And I said, I can't do this. My name's not on the list. I don't feel right. If something's not right. I said, my name's not on the list of competitors. So anyway, so I turned it all back in. And then now this is Saturday of that day. And Jim texted me like Monday or Tuesday before saying everything's totally finalized. So I'm walking back and I told Tricia I turned everything back in. I said, I feel better because I feel more honest because something wasn't right. I wasn't on the list. And then lo and behold, I look over who's getting now. I don't know, Robyn, at what time it was, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Who's getting his morning beer but Brad?
Well, yeah, you know, that's how they roll. When I
so it's like 8:30.
She has to have a morning beer. She's like, have a beer with me. And I'm like literally I'm like still drinking my coffee. I'm like, well, yeah, okay.
Here it is. It's like 8:30 in the morning or 9 o'clock. And I look, he's got it. Well, in the saucery, there's a bear tap. So I mean, whether they brought that in or they just have it there to keep them going. I said, Brad, isn't it a little early in the morning for a beer? And he's like, absolutely not. So he's getting a beer. And I said, well, I got to tell you this whole story. I said, Jim Taylor said I was supposed to cook in the competition. You said it was okay. Blah, 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 blah. But I'm not on any of the lists. So I turned my stuff back in. He's like, what? And I said, well, I turned my stuff back in because I wasn't on any list. He's like, well, that's because I forgot to tell him. And I'm like, well,
of course.
So of course he goes walking right over to the table and oh, he's fine. He's fine. I said it was okay. It's fine. Blah, blah, blah. So I got all my stuff and I got to go do it. But I was just like, I really felt bad because I'm like, well, I can't do this. I mean, if I'm not on the list, I can't just go cook. I mean, what if I win and I'm not even on the list? Like I had any health chance in whatever to actually win with 87 of the best steak cooks there. But you never know. Anything's possible.
You won with an amazing experience, which is what I had. We haven't practiced since it was just like, it was a shit show when we went to go cook our steak, but we had fun, you know.
Yeah. All that matters.
Well, and that was the nice thing though, is because see, I could do Scott, who is our guest next week from Spitfire Grills. I was cooking with him and see, he was doing both. So I could watch him do this. And then it was great because it's like, he's like, oh, okay, we're doing this. And then we're going to, about 2 o'clock, we're going to need trim for steak B, which is what I was in. I said, oh, that's great, Scott. I'm going to let you cook your steak A. I'm going back to my cabin and taking a nap. And that's what I did. I went and I took a nap and then I came back and then we marinated the steaks and then we had them all ready, but turn-in wasn't until 4 or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? We got like an hour and a half before I got to cook this thing, or an hour or so. I'm going to go back and take a nap.
That's perfect. And that's why you stay at the campground. So you can.
That's why I stay. We could conveniently walk and we would, you know, Tricia and I would sit they had a little double swing on the front porch. And we'd just sit on the swing. And it's just like, see, this is why you don't enter the competition like as a full-blown competitor, because it just wouldn't be this relaxing.
That's true. Sometimes if you're a hardcore competitor, you're not.
Yeah, no, you're not. Because I was actually
you're not drinking as much beer. You're being a lot more serious. All the things.
Yeah, I was actually. I made the comment because Tricia and I on Friday night we went to bed and actually we didn't go to bed. We were sitting on the porch. It was only like 9:30, 10 o'clock or whatever it was. I mean, that campground was quiet, bone quiet, and I'm just like, wow. I said, this is different than like a KCBS type of thing or even a barbecue relief deployment. I said, there is not a soul making a peep of noise. And that's what I was concerned about with the shed being right there and being in the campground, is I thought people would be up, you know, drinking and conversing and having a good time and this, but it was, I mean, these guys were railed in. I mean, they must have been in bed by 9:30.
That's crazy. I've never been to bed that early when I've been there before. So.
I don't know. Either that or they were in their trailers, because, I mean, that campground was the quietest I think I've seen ever in my life.
Wow.
I was so happy. So I could go to sleep.
Right.
So,
I know. I'm surprised it was that, but people are serious. They were being serious.
They were being serious. It was the day before the
show. You get there pretty early. Like, you have to be there at like 8 or 7. So
yeah, you had to be at the Saucery at like 8 for breakfast or something, and then steak pick was like at 8. Because I mean,
it's a long day.
We barely. Well, and of course, you know, obviously you go to punch in the Saucery into the GPS, and lo and behold, I don't know whether they've never updated where the Saucery's at, but it took you to the old location of the Saucery.
Oh.
So we ended up in Ocean Springs on this road, and I'm like, Trisha, I was like, there's no building here that looks like a manufacturing facility.
No.
I said, or anything. So I texted Craig Carter, and I said, where the hell is this Saucery? And I know somebody said it was really close. So when we were driving pretty far, I'm like, this isn't right. I said, because they said it's like really right there. And Craig, thank God, SCA family, Craig Carter called me and said, where are you at? And I said, I don't know. I'm not from here. I said, I'm on this road. And I said, I'm heading back towards 57. He said, well, when you get on 57, just take a right. It's behind some church or something like that.
Yep. Well, you know,
it was literally like 3 minutes from the shed. So
I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
It's an adventure. Ryan's going to come next year.
I got to convince the wife. Yes.
Well, you got the angle, Ryan. You just want to take a vacation to Ocean Springs. Don't mention the shed. Show her pictures of Ocean Springs. It's gorgeous. Old little street with these big, huge trees hanging over. There's Biloxi Bay. There's casinos over in Biloxi there that's not far away. New Orleans is only an hour away. Hey, we could go to the French Quarter type of thing. Cafe Dumont, get some beignets.
Yes.
There you go.
There's your whole angle. And then just lo and behold, hey, Steve just texted me. There's a competition.
Steve just texted me. There's like 800 people waiting for me to get there.
Right. There's this competition at the shed. That's all you got to do.
Babe, don't you want to just go cook a steak?
Tell you want to go camping. Yeah. Go to Ocean Springs and go camping. I know a perfect place. Oh, yeah. I can't believe it's attached to the shed.
It was fine. I showed her your pictures, and she was actually fine with that. She's like, "Oh, that's kind of nice." Until I told her it was about the outhouse.
Wait, until what? That sounds like a story.
Well, no, I don't know what cabin you had a trailer. We had just a cabin. The cabins don't have indoor plumbing.
Oh, well, that's a major deterrent for bringing a woman anywhere. You can't bring that up.
Well, I mean, Trisha loved it. I mean, it was, but I mean, now it did have its own private outhouse, so only cabin people could use it, and it was basically like a real bathroom. I mean, it wasn't like a porta potty. It was like a real bathroom. It was a toilet and a shower. I mean, it was like somebody had taken somebody's bathroom and just put it in the middle of 3 cabins. Yeah. And you could only get
campgrounds, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we had our own passcode. You had to go in and you had to put your code in to open the door. Otherwise, it was locked so that other regular campers couldn't get into it. So I thought it was kind of nice.
You don't tell her about that part. You just say no, or you stay at a nice hotel is what you do.
You can stay at a hotel. There's hotels around there.
Yeah.
Stay at a hotel on Biloxi Bay. It's literally 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. We shall see. Oh, look at this. Griddles
Who
and
decides
Vittles
to show up? Griddles and Vittles with Nick and Jay.
Wow. Only an hour and 28 minutes late.
Yeah. Good thing we went a half hour over, Nick and Jay.
Missed it. See, he stayed an extra 28 minutes for you. Griddles and Vittles with Nick and Jay are another part of the Griddle crew, but they came down for the Griddle battle, and they actually went to Wanamaker's to go see Steve because they've been on the podcast for a while.
Awesome.
And they missed him by 20 minutes. Oh. He had left 20 minutes early.
Oh,
Steve leaves early on certain days in the wintertime or when it's slow. Because Steve does not, at this age, Steve does not like when the store is slow.
Yeah.
So
I understand completely.
But they are the reigning griddle battle champions. That's why they probably figured they could just come in 28 minutes late, graciously late, because they're the champions.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So this
all right.
happens. But Robyn, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, you guys. It was a
Great to meet you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
I
thanks for
can
coming
talk
on.
all night long, but eventually I'm sure people will get tired of us.
Yeah, I know.
They're
Well, that's
tired
the
of it.
beauty of the show, because there really is no structure to it. It is just truly a chat of just good old time barbecue, good old whatever hoopla.
I love it.
Barbecue. I mean, we even got Ryan's griddle stuff in here.
Yes.
I love it. You guys are great. You're welcome anytime to the ranch down here in Florida. We'll cook some some weird stuff, or some not weird stuff. We'll just cook. It'll be fun.
I love weird stuff. That's
Yeah,
why I
let's
know
do
Steve.
it.
We can try and run away from the gators at the lake, Ryan.
No, I heard they can get up to pretty fast little movers.
That's all right. I could trip you, and then I could get going.
You just got to be faster than the slowest person.
Here's what you do. You have to run in a zigzag. That's like a known thing, because they can't, because the way their vision is.
They can't focus side to side, yeah. Or they
Yeah,
can't
you
track
have to
it.
go like that. It's like even in the children's books. Like I learned it from a children's book actually, but it's accurate.
The things that go on it for you.
I have a book about the Everglades that my son has, and it's like that's like one of the things you learn. It's like, what do you do when you're chasing when a gator's chasing you? Like run in a zigzag, but that's factual. That is accurate.
Well, for those of us in our mid 50s, though, running zigzag could throw our equilibrium off. We might fall, and I don't want to fall and then have Ryan outrun me. So I'd rather just trip Ryan and then,
You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun your competition.
Yeah, just got to
That's
be
it.
faster than the slowest person.
Look at what Griddles and Vittles and said it there at the bottom there.
They
Ryan.
said they didn't even get a whole hour when we were guessing. I don't
What
know
a
how that was
potato.
possible, because it's always an hour show. But
always
anyways, guys,
It's because
go
I'm
check her
talking
out.
about gators and running in zigzags.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah,
Right.
go check
All right,
out
Robyn.
grillgirl.com. It's amazing recipes. I can't wait to actually go. I'm going to go through so much more.
Oh,
And
thanks, guys. It was
I'm
a
gonna look into
pleasure.
a
It was
gator.
really nice to meet y'all.
Nice
Again,
meeting you.
we meet, hang out, chat.
Yes.
Definitely. If we're in the area, I'm gonna shoot it out. So
We have
All right,
we even
buddy.
have a shooting range on the property, so you can practice.
Ooh, I've never. Uh-oh.
You can shoot some iguanas.
My ear. We talked so long, my earbud died.
That's time.
Yeah.
All right, Robyn.
But thanks
Appreciate
again,
it.
you
Nice
guys.
meeting you. Have a
Have
good
a
one.
great evening.
You
Right.
too.
See you, Robyn.
Bye.
Man, another look at that. An hour and 32 minutes right now. And we still got 4 people in here.
We
hanging out with
outlasted
us.
my earbud.
Yes. So
That's probably because my earbud charger is probably out. So now I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm on the actual microphone of the computer. I don't know how low that works. But
nothing changed. It still was going through the computer the whole time.
wow, hurt my feelings, Ryan.
Sorry.
It was not going through the computer the whole time.
Totally going through the computer the whole time.
It was not. It was going through my earbud.
Okay. We'll have to test it out next time. You'll have to actually walk away and see if I can hear you talk. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out. Next week, Spitfire Grills.
Scott from Spitfire Grills. I cooked on this grill at the shed. It's a pretty cool little grill. So get there. Look, if you want, check them out, spitfiregrills.com. Check them out and see what it is. And then he will be here next week. It is a cool little grill. You can do live fire. You can do grilling on it. You can do smoking on it. You can do pizza on it. You can do broiling on it. You can just about anything on it.
And thanks again to OG Bandits.
Our sponsor, OG Bandits.
Marble Ridge Farms.
Marble Ridge Farms. Check out Marble Ridge Farms. They got meat and stuff that you can probably get shipped out right to your home. And obviously, check your local supplier of barbecue products for OG Bandit sauces and rubs. You won't be disappointed because I stock them at Wanamaker's, and I know because I've tasted a lot of them because I have the tasting station, and they are very, very good. I like their brisket rub and their rib rub particularly.
Yeah.
So with that, tune in next week for another exciting. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
And don't forget, now on Spotify, You can watch our podcast.
And now on Spotify. Are we on? Like, can you like see on Spotify?
Yes,
or
no,
is it
it's the full video, everything. You can go back and listen to us and watch us the whole show.
Do we get anything exciting for that or no?
I don't know yet. We'll find out one day. We have a follower now. Mr. Keith from Smoking Griddle Boys is our first follower on Spotify. Hey,
Thanks, Smoking Griddle Boys.
Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Central. Have a good night. Take